Alright, so a little while ago when I did my Exorcist rankings, I told you guys that I'd be doing rankings of different horror franchises. And I've done those before, but well, my taste changes over time. And with Halloween Ends, we're finally putting that on this version of the list for Halloween. So, as always, if you think a movie should be higher or lower on this list, that's totally fine. This is just my personal preference, and I'm always excited to hear yours. And I will say that, like, for the first few, I'm gonna say we're gonna go from least favorite to favorite. Honestly, the first four movies are just god awful for me, and are just from the first, I don't know. Actually, no, the first five, almost bordering six, are movies I just don't care about anymore. You might know who those are, and you're all wondering where Halloween ends up. So yeah. Having said all that, let's get started. I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say, but for right now, let's get started with this video. Starting off, like I said, we're starting at the shit tier. We are at the bottom of the barrel. And that is Halloween Resurrection. Yeah, I know what you're all thinking. Halloween Ends isn't the worst? No, Halloween Resurrection is just a giant fuck you to the fandom. It's a spit in the face to John Carpenter's work. It's a spit in the face to Halloween H2O. It's a fucking awful way to kill off Laurie Strode. It's a product of its time of an era of fast-paced trying to be edgy horror, and nothing works. And the worst sin of this movie, Michael's not a threat. At least in the other movies, they treat Michael like a fucking threat. Here, it's not. He is treated like a goddamn joke. It's fucking annoying, really. So, I fucking hate this movie. I really do. So, all of them are, the first few we're going to get through are pretty bad, but this one has, I've watched this movie 2 more times in my life. I still can't get, I've only managed to get through it once of the 5 times I've watched it, and 3 of those times were mostly because it was on TV and I needed background music. Anyway, so, there you go, Halloween Resurrection. It sucks. I fucking hate it. I never want to watch that movie again. So, let's move on to the next one. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Yeah, this movie is inane garbage. Every character sucks, except, Brad Dourif and Danielle Harris are the best parts of this movie, and everything else is just a mindfuck of stupid that is so Rob Zombie. I've never seen a Rob Zombie movie Rob Zombie so hard, other than this one. And maybe, I don't know, House of 1,000. The only one that really Rob Zombies all over that zombie bukkake's all over the screen is House of 1,000 Corpses. That's the only one that goes higher. This would be second level of zombozo-ness. But yeah, this movie is incoherent. There aren't a lot of good kills. This movie makes me hate Dr. Loomis, and the actors, Michael McDowell's a great actor, and he gets shit lines throughout the whole thing, so fuck this movie. Fuck this goddamn movie. Next up, Halloween 6. The Curse of Michael Myers, the end of the Thorn trilogy, and sadly, Donald Pleasance's final film. And God, does he carry this movie. What can I say about The Curse of Michael Myers? This movie is straight up no one knew what to do with this film because, yeah, after the end of Revenge of Michael Myers, no one really knew what to do next with the franchise. They didn't have a plan. It's some hot ass. In storytelling, and the movie's editing got completely butchered thanks to a certain person who was a terrible human being, and I'm glad he's gonna die in prison. You know who I'm talking about. But yeah, there are some good kills, I will admit, and again, Donald Pleasance is Donald Pleasance, and while sadly this is his final performance, it's still a damn fine performance. This is an excellent performance on his part. So yeah. Absolutely, I think there are some good things here, but not enough to make me want to go back and watch this anytime soon. So there you go. Now we come to the movie you've all been waiting for, Halloween Ends. Why is it higher than 3 other movies? Honestly, like I said, these first few are all interchangeable of bad. This one, the thing that pisses me off is that I can see what David Gordon Green and Danny McBride were trying to do with the franchise. I really do. I see what they were trying to do. but it just fails. And there was a point in this movie where I almost walked out, where there's Allison's with Corey, and he's like, they're on their bike, and music's playing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I actually said in the theater out loud, what the fuck? And one guy was like in the front rows, he didn't tell me to shut up. He's like, yeah, I know. There was a verbal moment of hey, someone had to say it, and I'm glad it was me. But yeah, I could have accepted Corey as a character if they established him in at least Halloween Kills, and we'll get to that movie later. But yeah, this movie, I could have been more accepting of the idea of it if Corey wasn't shoe-fisted in there, and it wasn't trying to be and Michael, and also David Gordon Green, come here. Pick a fucking lane as to what you're doing with Michael, because you said, Michael's human and he's more myth than man. Well, clearly you didn't follow your own fucking rules, because you made Michael a force of evil, and that evil, creeps into Corey or something, and, yeah, it doesn't feel that ending doesn't feel, fulfilled. Even with Corey, at the end, it doesn't go anywhere by the end of it. I can see why I didn't like Exorcist Believer more and more after this movie. But yeah, Halloween Ends. What could have I could have been more accepting. Like I said, if you put Corey at the second film and had that opening scene in the film in Halloween Kills, and the accident happens, but everyone's so preoccupied with Michael, and then Michael gets away, and everyone's just so incensed and enraged and fearful, they all turn their hate and rage on Corey because he's the new monster for them to pick on and demonize. Yeah, it would make so much more sense if you established Corey in at least the second movie, if not the entire trilogy, and maybe this would have been an easier pill to swallow, but no, we are doing that, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, next up, Halloween 5. Remember what I said, Halloween Resurrection shits all over all the production of Halloween Resurrection shits all over the production of Halloween H2O? Well, this does that for Halloween 4. This takes all the concepts that were brought up in Halloween 4 and just throws them in the garbage. With a plot line for making a trilogy that they had no idea what they were doing with the Cult of Thorn. It wasn't even established with that. And Tiff is a horrible character. You kill off her, Jamie's sister. Donald Pleasance doesn't have the best performance and best direction in this movie. The only thing that makes this a little higher is that there are some kills here that I do enjoy. And weirdly enough, this was the first Halloween movie I ever watched. I have this weird thing where I watch the sequels of the movies first and then have to piecemeal the continuity as I go on in life. So yeah, I was I think I was somewhere around the round of 10, 11, young. I was young when I saw, and this was my first of the Halloween series, and I really feel bad for myself because it's the 5th movie, Jack. I am out of it. I have no idea what the fuck's going on. And yeah. So there you go. Next up, Rob Zombie's Halloween. The reason why this is a little higher is because I get what Rob Zombie was trying to do. Is that first half and making the family a bunch of inbred, zombie characters stupid? It is goddamn ridiculous. But I do appreciate that there are some great performances from Malcolm McDowell. I think there's some cool stuff with Michael. Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. I still think he is a very intimidating, very powerful Michael. Too bad they ruined that in the second movie, but here you really get the feeling of this is the boogeyman, and he's here to fuck your day up. So yeah, I do like the imposing aura of Michael, and there are some other things that I think this movie's more tolerable. If I had to pick of this tier of movies, it would probably be Rob Zombie's Halloween, even though that first half is just a bitch to get through. Anyway, so moving on to a movie that I think is alright, and that's the original Halloween 2. This is just more of the night that Michael came home. It's more of the sequel that was done like what 4 years afterwards, and yeah, there's nothing really like Jamie gets sidelined, Jamie Lee Curtis gets sidelined as Laurie for half the movie. Donald Pleasance gives a great performance. It's Donald Pleasance, of course he does. And there are some really good kills, but it really does feel like it was like John Carpenter was really pressured himself into the whole thing of making this, like, he even said himself, like, I really pressured myself on certain things, like making it more like the slashers of the 80s that Halloween had inspired. Plus, even he didn't like the siblings thing, and I'm glad in the new continuity they did get rid of the siblings thing. So I do like that. I do like, I did like that they changed that in the Gordon. That's one good thing the Gordon Green series made. Yeah, it's just more of the same, really, and it's really like watching Halloween 2. It really does feel how just so lazy making Michael Laurie's brother is. But yeah, it's still a watchable movie though. So next up we have Halloween Kills. I know this movie's pretty divisive among fans, but I personally really enjoy this as like a fun carnage candy kind of film. This movie's brutal. Is it dumb? Yes. But sometimes I just want a dumb slasher film. And this really is like Halloween Kills, or as I like to call it, Michael Myers stats his pad. It padded his stats a little more. Yeah, he pats his stats as a killer a little more to try to catch up with Jason. But yeah, there's some great kills. J. Jude Courtney is this is, I think, J. Jude Courtney's best performance of his time as Michael. Just this huge, intimidating force that is just coming at you no matter what. And that scene with the fire, with the firemen in front of the burning building, yeah, that was great. That was amazing. So I really love that. There are some dumb things in this movie, I acknowledge. Like, again, it does the same thing Halloween 2 did, where it sidelines Laurie Strode. But Allison really does pick up the pace. And again, like, the whole evil dies tonight thing, even I admit that's, like, looking back on it, is like, man, that was really fucking dumb. But for what it's worth, I do think this movie has its merits. I think it's a movie where you can watch Michael just... If you want to watch Michael just murder people, here you go. That's the movie. And sometimes I just want a slasher movie to be a slasher movie. I don't need to... walk out of a movie going, what the fuck was that ending? Then go on, like, Film Explained, have them explain, like, a film theory, and then you pretend like, your pretentious ass knew that was the ending all along when you had to have it told to you like a fucking idiot. That's my problem with, I have a real problem with these days is, with today's elevated horror, with, because it's like, it's so... I just hate the pretentiousness of a lot of people. So I don't mind elevated horror itself. It's not for me. And although granted, there are some I guess you could qualify as elevated horror that I do enjoy, like a lot of Robert Eggers' work. But I just don't like the pretentiousness of it. So when people said, "Oh, I don't get it. It's just a dumb slasher." Welcome to the fucking 80s, asshole. I will never understand Rotten Tomatoes scores. I don't have to, because we now know that they get paid off to either bomb or hype up a movie. Anyway, I'm cool. I'm so cool. So these next following movies are like my top tier. These are the ones I'm always going for. And let's get started with Halloween H2O. Halloween H2O is a great return to form with a little bit of Scream DNA in there. Is the Michael mask a little dumb and derpy? Yeah, especially the CGI. But it really carries a lot of themes and especially Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie Strode the first time around. She fucking carries that movie. And I do like the supporting cast around her. Does it have that kind... yeah, Kevin Williamson did have his hand in this movie, and it does have that kind of Scream meta stuff to it. But on a whole, I think they really stuck the landing. Can't say the same about Resurrection, but you can say it here. And if you want to look at it, that's like for some people, that's the definitive ending to the Halloween franchise. Excuse me. Yeah. So Halloween H2O, really love it. Next up, Halloween 4. Halloween 4 is a return to form movie if you ever heard one, but it's a great return to form. Donald Pleasance is back. This we get Danielle Harris as a up and coming scream queen, and even as a child actor, you knew how good of an actress she was. She gives an astonishing performance here as Jamie Lloyd. Michael has some of the best kills. Those shoulder pads do look dumb, but hey, this movie does have kind of the same thing with kills where it's like you can shut your brain off, and there's some great kills. But you care about the characters here. You do care a lot about these characters. The shotgun to the chest, that's a great kill. I always love the scenes with Donald Pleasance, begging Michael not to go to Haddonfield, excuse me. And I do love... there's something about that scene where, Loomis is in the police department, and he's like, Sheriff, 6 bodies, that's what I've seen here from here to Haddonfield. I know I'm paraphrasing, but yeah. I'm like, that scene of that just gives you the weight of what Michael's effect is to Haddonfield. There's something about that scene that just makes me go, yeah, this movie treats Michael Myers like the boogeyman we know him to be. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's always a sequel I go to look for. And now to separate the men from the bitches. And that is my next favorite movie, my third favorite of the Halloween franchise, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. But it doesn't have Michael Myers in it. Who gives a fuck? This movie is so much goddamn fun. I don't even care. I recently rewatched it like a week or so ago with my girlfriend, and that was her first time watching it. In fact, funny story, we had a Tom Atkins double feature with that and Night of the Creeps. She loved them both. Halloween 3 is had this movie been called... Now, I do feel like if this movie wasn't a Halloween 3 movie and just called Season of the Witch, and was it like John Carpenter's Season of the Witch, this movie I think would be regarded much better. You have to understand, this came at when Deborah Hill and John Carpenter were trying to make this a anthology after 2 movies of Michael. I can see, and again, this was in an era where the online stuff wasn't available, so no one knew what the hell this was or properly understood it. Again, if this movie came out like John Carpenter's Season of the Witch, I feel like this would be one of those cult movies like Prince of Darkness that we'd all be like, this was a great movie that no one paid attention to. But it has some great performances from Tom Atkins and there's other great character actors in here. There's some dark comedy, and it actually kind of feels like a Doctor Who episode, really. And of course, you can't get the Silver Shamrock theme out of your head. But yeah. Yeah, this is, I really love this movie. So next up, Halloween 2018, the start of the Green trilogy. Halloween 2018, regardless of how you feel about the kills and ends, this movie really does feel like a nice love letter to the fans, to the films, to everything. And honestly, you could just watch this movie and be like, yeah, Michael died in the fire at the end. And the girls are, and the Strode women are, they overcame the boogeyman and drove away, and that's the ever after right there. You can honestly look at it like that. It's a solid movie, great kills, great cinematography. It, again, like I said with Halloween 4, it gives you the force of how it really enforces the whole thing of Michael is the boogeyman and he is back. And J. Jude Courtney really is a great Michael. He's a worthy successor to Nick Castle's performance, in my opinion. Just all around great film. And of course, to the shock of no one, Halloween 1978. That movie, it's just perfect. It's just the perfect. It's a great not just a great Halloween movie, but a great Halloween movie. See what I did there? This is a movie I always, whenever we get closer and closer to, to Halloween itself, I put on this movie every year. No matter what, I put on John Carpenter's Halloween and it's just the perfect Halloween movie. It's the perfect spooky season movie, and it is a masterpiece in horror cinema and was an inspiration to the entire era of the 80s films. Without Michael, there would be no Jason or Freddy or yeah, you see what I mean? So yeah, there you go, guys. To the like I said, shock of no one. You already knew that the first Halloween movie's on the top, but yeah. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what are your where does the Halloween film franchise rank for you from best to worst? Just comment below, let me know. Really curious to see what you guys have to say. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.